This video is going to be a film study look at Jaylinn Hawkins, the recently signed safety for the Ravens. I think 2 years, $10 million. I'm just going to get jumped right into the film and give you my observations. Far less time to produce this than I would have liked. Look, he's involved in everything. He reminds me of, I like to use basketball analogies or comparisons. He reminds me of like the 6'2", 6'3" guard that's tenacious at your local playground or wherever you go play basketball, and they just defend everyone, and no one enjoys to get matched up against them, meaning no one likes to try to bring the ball up against them, nor be isolated and try to score because they're just a pain to deal with. Super balanced guy, if you ask me. Shows up. He doesn't show up on time against the run and against the pass. He's there early. So we've got 3 games here that I broke down. One of which was against the Ravens. This is a second possession. This is a game-changing play. Split zone type concept with Isaiah Likely moving across the heels of the offensive line, and then Derrick Henry going in the opposite direction. The Ravens were rolling, right? The first touchdown by Derrick Henry. This is a forced fumble. I think it's credited to Hawkins. It may be credited to CD3. I really don't care. What I want to point out is that this is a guy that's relentless. Zay Flowers is responsible for blocking him. Zay's off screen. And he's coming down from an outside-in angle to go get Jaylinn Hawkins. And in fact, he will get a piece of him and block him, push him to the inside. And then Derrick Henry takes the run, outside of that block. And then Hawkins spins off of it. First contact from CD3, don't get me wrong. I think Hawkins is the guy that forced it. I could be wrong there. He's credited with a forced fumble as I remember it on the stat sheet. My point in showing you this is that I want to focus on run defense first. This is just a guy that you cannot keep away from the ball. And the crazy thing is he plays a lot of free safety. He plays a lot of free safety from a coverage standpoint, but then he's often a guy who shows up against the run first. One of the other games that I chose to focus on was a late season loss to the Bills. I think it was 34-31 or 35-31. High level awareness. He's spot shadowed here. I'm only going to give you the end zone angle. Ball's on the left hash down inside the 10-yard line. And this is an 11 personnel run play that the Bills and many other teams major in or thrive in. It's an insert scheme with the wide receiver. So tight end's going to step out to the edge defender. And I mean, they're telling you what's coming, right? And this is not just the Buffalo Bills. The wide receiver is, literally looking right at the strong safety that he's going to be assigned to go block. Hawkins shows up pretty quickly, along with CD3, who makes first contact. This is a guy who adds on to the run game and run defense, whether he's lined up as a free safety. He's got, I think, great awareness of the situation. Basically, the formation here is a real giveaway, in my opinion. And it's okay if you don't, understand that or agree with me, to be honest with you. These 11 personnel, basically what a lot of teams are doing is by having a third receiver on the field on 11 personnel and running these insert concepts, they've just replaced the fullback, is all they've done. They've replaced the fullback as a lead blocker, and now they're using a receiver to block a, quote, lighter defender. It's the same math. It's the same concept, really. You're just getting someone out in front of the running back to go block, and it works, obviously, but what I'm selling to you is that Jaylinn Hawkins is a guy who kind of becomes a +1 or a +half defender in those situations. He's very smart, great tempo to the ball, and he tackles well. Another one from that same game against the Bills, we've got 3 to a side, so we got a running back and 2 tight ends. I'll maybe talk about that a little bit later during the pass portion of this film study video. Tackles well, like I said, and then covers high-end receiving threats. I haven't seen him major in man a ton, to be honest with you, but this is James Cook. He's going to get through the first and, in fact, the second level of the defense, go through the A-gap. I'll give you the end zone angle. He kind of slips, he being James Cook, but watch Hawkins, or try to, if you can. It's tough to not focus on the ball, but what I love about him is his heels become capped when he sees something. And what I mean there is, once that foot's in the ground, he's decisive, he's gone. He's downhill. This isn't a huge tackle. And in fact, I recognize some people are going to say, well, if James Cook doesn't slip, he's still going to be running. I think the reason why he slips is because he sees the presence of Hawkins there. Hawkins doesn't just arrive on time against the run. I think he's often there, like I said a moment ago, a little bit early. Cook is going to get through this front side A-gap, so between the 2 defensive tackles. And Hawkins is actually off screen for you guys. You can kind of see his helmet right there. The big point for me is he's decisive. He reads things well. This this becomes like a 6-yard gain. So you're talking about a 2nd and 4, whereas, if Hawkins is later, like some free safeties would be, some guys lined up at the third level of the defense, then this may have been a 2nd and 1 or even a new set of downs immediately. Hawkins, in my opinion, adds to both the ceiling and the floor of this defense because he does everything well. He's got excellent reactions. Like I said, not a super high usage guy in man coverage. This is one of my favorite plays. Well, now it is. It wasn't at the time that it happened. I remember thinking, like, who is that guy? So this is against the Ravens, obviously, and he's lined up as a high safety for a moment. I want you to just try to check out how patient he is and the tempo that he offers, or the tempo that he plays with. So some people, different names for this: RPO, modern triple, whatever. The triple, first option is to give to the running back, Keaton Mitchell. Second option is the quarterback, keep it, around the edge. And the third option is possibly throwing it out here to Rashad Bateman. It's been 20 years since this stuff showed up, or maybe even a little bit longer. It's filtered its way to the NFL in a little more commonplace now. This is before Lamar got hurt, obviously. Watch him tempo. Number one, the width of the receiver. Watch him match the width of the receiver. That's Bateman. To create a 3-on-3 up there. We're talking about the 3 Ravens eligible receivers and the 3 defenders for the Patriots. And then stay connected to or loosely connected to Rashad Bateman. He even kind of averts his eyes for a moment at Bateman and then fights off the block, or what little block attempt there is from Bateman, and then he's the guy that makes the tackle. The edge defender is involved as well. It just changes the math when you have a guy like Lamar, obviously. Sometimes you can get that 4-on-3. I'm talking about in the Ravens' favor, or maybe, a 3.5-on-3. So this guy certainly plays a role, the edge defender, don't get me wrong. Jaylinn Hawkins gets credit for the tackle. I remember seeing this live and thinking, that's the kind of thing that we've, in the past, been able to get for, at least 6 or 8 yards, if not a little more. He's got great feet, incredible balance, if you ask me. He's got eyes on the football or on his key, while in this case, he's staying loosely connected to the receiver, Rashad Bateman. We're doing all run plays here, like I said, by design, and then I'll do pass plays at the end. He's prepared for every moment. He's consistently in the right spot. If you can't tell already, I think this is a tremendous signing for the Ravens, especially at that price point, $5 million a year. So it's like QB power read, a little bit of a weird angle. Maybe it's our angle from the All-22. The idea here is that you've got the pulling left guard, and Lamar could keep it or he could give it. Some people used to refer to this as inverted veer. So the first threat is the give to Keaton Mitchell, and that's what actually happens here. The second threat is Lamar possibly keeping it behind the pulling guard. In this case, it's Voorhees, and then Lamar would be running downhill. Hence the word or the phrase inverted veer. The inversion is that the first option, the running back, is the wide threat, and the second option is the quarterback downhill. But as far as Hawkins goes, decisive, reads, quick, no wasted steps. And in fact, his reads are often textbook, if you ask me, as far as coming downhill. Again, getting that heel in the ground, getting that foot in the ground, I should say, and just coming downhill. He does, oh, by the way, make the tackle on Keaton Mitchell before he goes out of bounds. He's a very good football player. I think he's an upgrade over both of the other options we would have had here in the building already in Alohi Gilman and Ardarius Washington. Same game against the Ravens. I think we're still into the second quarter here. Not involved as a tackler on this particular snap. Just showing you the versatility, really showing you what he was asked to do last year for New England. There's a lot going on as far as the lines on the screen. Let's get that out of the way for a moment. So he's going to deal with a kick-out block from Voorhees. It's really a counter scheme because Ronnie Stanley is also pulling as well. Keaton Mitchell, a little bit of a counter step. So I know there's a lot drawn up there. The idea is, try to keep an eye on Hawkins, if you can. Taking on the kick-out block from Voorhees. He's not involved with the tackle at all. He's technically the force, or some refer to it as edge defender here. What they've really done is they've created an old-school underfront, where this is the shade or the one technique nose tackle in the A-gap. A little bit wider alignment here, but a five technique defensive end, even though that's positionally an OLB in Landry. And then he has become the 9 technique defensive end or edge defender. So they've created an underfront from a nickel personnel with him basically playing the nickel here. I don't think that's the reason why the Ravens signed him to play the nickel, but he does offer you that option on a snap-by-snap basis that he can move down and play and do anything you ask him to do because he's committed to whatever he's doing, whether it's the run or the pass. I find him to be tremendously underrated, at least so far through 3 games. One more run game fit here. I actually almost forgot about this one again, dating back to the Bills game late in the regular season. He walks down as an inside linebacker, and he's going to read the pull of the left guard. His eyes are not on the backfield here. You can tell when you get the end zone angle how quickly he makes this read. So he essentially becomes an inside linebacker. This is becoming a 5-3 look, if you will. 2 corners on the outside, 1 free safety in the middle of the field, and then 3 second level players in the box. I kind of chronicled this or previewed it before the Super Bowl when they faced the Seahawks. So really versatile, not just within the season or the film that I have, or within each particular game. He's versatile within a possession. One play you might have him in the box like this. The next play he might be, the middle of the field free safety. Tremendous versatility, if you ask me. I can see why the Ravens went and got him. I think this has been an underrated week for the front office in Baltimore. Obviously, the Max Crosby situation, disappointing, right, at the time. We countered well or pivoted well, I guess. Do I believe the whole thing that we were bringing in Trey Hendrickson and Max Crosby at the same time? It seems confirmed from enough sources for me. It doesn't really matter. We got Hendrickson. We got Hawkins, who I think is a really good football player. And perhaps just as important, we brought back Chibodi Awuzie. So same play from the end zone angle here. He's reading that guard, 76. As soon as he sees that, he's gone. You can see he's already moving. The ball hasn't even been handed off yet. Like right now, the ball is still out. He's not watching the running back. He's seeing a run key, and that's 76. As he makes this tackle, imagine he's not there, right? James Cook possibly has a cutback lane. That's the whole point. He adds to the run defense. This is a very good football player, extremely smart. I think 28 years old. He's been around a little bit in the league. Falcons, Chargers for a year. I think he was a 1-year deal with the Patriots. Maybe he was there 2 years. I think that there's a lot of guys in the NFL who can do these things. The point here for me is that, A, the salary structure is favorable to the Ravens, number 1. Number 2, this is a guy who tackles well, and he's really good against the pass. I'm going to give you one play that's a little bit anomalous. He's used as a blitzer here. It's a sticks blitz zero concept. Second possession of the Super Bowl. He's off the edge over here lined up next to Milton Williams. This is a 3rd down. It's going to be a missed opportunity for real. This could very easily end up being 14-0 Seattle on their second possession. Remember, they scored on the first drive, and this is the missed pass from Darnold to JSN, who ends up wide open. Now, so JSN's down here. He's going to run across the screen for us left to right and then take this a little bit vertical. But let's pull this back. I just want to show you how tenacious and relentless Jaylinn Hawkins is. He misses this tackle on Darnold. Obviously, they had trouble, they being the Patriots, they had trouble getting him to the ground in the Super Bowl, right? Missed tackle, Darnold just steps up, and there's Jaylinn Hawkins on the ground. Darnold's looking for some help. I think it's a 3rd and 6. JSN working across, and he'll take this vertical, end up wide open. Check out how tenacious Jaylinn Hawkins is. Gets up off the ground. I mean, we used to do drills like this. We got them from some people who are way smarter than us. We would do drills where you as a defensive player had to start the play or start the drill on the ground. We were trying to simulate that you went to the ground. I know up downs, is pretty much one of the reasons why people did that for decades. This was a little bit more structured and hard coded, I guess. But anyway, Hawkins making a hit on Darnold. I don't know that it necessarily impacted his throw to JSN. It certainly would have been 2-touchdown lead for Seattle at that point. I'm going to move on to pass coverage. I know I could have started there, maybe should have started there because he's a safety. I wanted to show his ability to show up on time or even early as a run defender that helps the front 6 or the front 7 on any given snap. I'm going to try to illustrate and focus on his adaptability in that he puts himself in the right place all over the field, the width of the field and the depth of the field. We know he tackles well. some of the plays that I showed, and you can look at his stats. Obviously, you had the missed opportunity or the missed sack on Darnold that I just gave you. So this is a really cool play, if you ask me, from a Jaylinn Hawkins perspective. It's a play-action pass. He'll stay in the flats. So he's going to come up a little bit and then work his way out in the flats. And he'll stay in between two routes. Again, it's a play-action concept. So he's going to stay in between these two routes. One of them is the tight end. It's a high-low concept, and the running back is in front of him. That's the low portion of this. Josh Allen's footwork and some of his mechanics in this game was a little bit shocking. It makes me wonder, maybe he was injured at this time or something, because it was very loose. Let's just put it that way. But as far as Hawkins goes, he's got eyes on Cook, and he can see Josh Allen in front of him. He knows, however, that there's a route behind him. Watch him get depth and just basically try to take that option away from Josh Allen. There's an inside linebacker in the window, so it's not going to matter, right? Josh Allen's not going to throw the ball probably either way, or low percent completion chance. My point is to try to illustrate and give you an idea of the awareness that Jaylinn Hawkins plays with. He's almost defending two routes at the same time, talking about the tight end. He actually looks, I think, glances for a moment. Maybe not. I thought he glanced here for a moment. He didn't. He just knows that there's got to be a route behind him. Ends up being an incomplete pass. I think that after watching 3 games film of him, you could draw cover 3, cover 2, a variety of coverages. And Jaylinn Hawkins could basically execute any of the tasks within those coverages. I find him to be extremely versatile. In fact, more versatile presentation the more film that I watched. He won't be targeted here. This is in the Super Bowl, but this is to illustrate, first of all, what he's capable of from a snap-by-snap basis. Is 2 read or palms, and the reason why they're doing this is JSN is the number 2 receiver. So the idea behind 2 read or palms is that you're able to jump an out by number 2, but you're not using the nickel or the apex defender to do so. That defender doesn't have to chase. In fact, he's tasked with being inside-out leverage on the number 2 receiver, and you can see you got slight inside-out leverage there. The read is that the free safety, or the safety to that side, I should say, and the outside corner are both reading 2. If 2 was to, let's say, go under, right, then maybe they would release him and let him go under, but the outside corner would just man 1. That's the idea. But since 2 is breaking to the outside, this is a very simplified explanation, obviously. Since he's breaking to the outside, the corner's going to break off that vertical by Shaheed. And Jaylinn Hawkins is going to get to this vertical. He'll be late, as far as how that vertical would be covered if CD3 stayed connected to it. All right, if you weren't playing 2 read. The idea is to give the quarterback the appearance that this route will be open, because this corner could possibly take the vertical. 2 read is a real deterrent, man, for once you look at film and you know that a team plays 2 read, to both sides and in all across the field, meaning the yard line doesn't necessarily matter. Some teams only play it in certain areas of the field. It becomes a deterrent for these types of calls. You trying to call plays and the quarterback trying to execute it, you have to have it in the back of your mind that they could be doing this. We're talking about Jaylinn Hawkins, right? He's trying to get over the top. Just how instant his read is, right? Ball is snapped, reads pass. Watch his helmet. Immediately, he's not staring at the quarterback. The whole, horseshit thing about guys stare at the quarterback the whole time, that's not true. Even if it is zone, this is technically a match concept. So eyes to number 2 immediately, and now he's reading 2. 2 goes out. I got 1 vertical, let me go. Instant reads and reactions by Jaylinn Hawkins. He's a very experienced football player, if you ask me. It ends up being, he's not targeted, ends up being a quick tackle by CD3 on a completion to JSN. They did a really nice job trying to hold him down, and some of the coverage versatility was a reason why no one shut him down individually. It was because the Patriots had a bunch of guys out on the field, coverage spots that could present so many different looks to Sam Darnold. He won't be targeted here either. I just like the physicality or the willingness to be physical. All right, Kolar's going to end up wide open as the tight end to the downside of our screen. And Lamar could, possibly even get him the ball a little bit sooner. Lamar's looking for, I think, this route to Zay Flowers to develop late. And that's part of the whole reason why I'm showing this play. I don't just think Hawkins is willing to be physical. I should rephrase that. I think it's his default setting when he's a second level defender. He's going to make contact with Zay here, probably past the 5-yard marker. I don't care. I'm not one of those people that thinks that every example of this type of contact beyond 5 yards should be called, because I think the 5-yard rule is bullshit anyway. But I recognize the reason why they have it, because they want to promote the passing game in the NFL. Kolar's wide open, right? I think Lamar is waiting for this route for Zay, and I just like that Hawkins is willing to impede or try to disrupt receivers. So many teams do not do anything like that. Again, look at his eyes. As soon as he reads pass, turns to the receiver, which is Zay Flowers. So he's trying to disrupt the concept and then get out into really the high flats. I mean, that's a deep drop, if you ask me. It's complete to Kolar over the middle. So he actually does try to get involved in the tackle. He makes contact. He's very kinetic, if you ask me, in his movement, in that he can recognize something and his feet will react for him and put him in position to help out on the play. I think he's an upgrade over Gilman and our Darius Washington, like I said earlier. This is a hurry-up situation against the Seahawks in the Super Bowl. When I say hurry-up, the previous pass was completed to Cooper Kupp along the sideline, the top sideline from our perspective, and there was some question about whether he caught it, so the Seahawks are trying to snap the ball before the review. He's spot shadowed here in yellow, and he's going to end up matching the tight end's route. Now, Darnold doesn't look there first. JSN kind of falls down up here. It almost looks like maybe JSN's feet get tangled up, perhaps. I can't really tell with Christian Gonzalez, but I know JSN had an injury leading to the game with an ankle, and he kind of gets turned there. So Darnold ends up coming back quickly because I think he sees, number one, he sees Kupp not open, and then JSN possibly falling down. So quickly he's back on his read to the other side, and that's covered up pretty quickly by Jaylinn Hawkins. Superb athleticism. He's very confident in it, by the way. I haven't seen a ton of him playing nickel, but I'm not saying that he cannot do so. I don't know that I would want him matched up against slot wide receivers. He just doesn't look like a premier type of coverage guy in those situations, just based on what I'm seeing. But again, there's a ton of good film here in 3 games, and I trust what he brings to this team, especially at the price point that we got him, right? 2 years, $10 million. I think it's a great deal for him and a great deal for the Ravens. A couple of more plays here. I guess actually one. Spot shadowed here on the bottom, back against the Ravens. And how quickly he recognizes things. This is man into the boundary, so kind of a pseudo nickel situation. The only difference is he's defending a tight end. It's a slant flat concept. So likely is shooting out into the flats, and then Zay is kind of running the slant concept. It's man on the tight end. What he offers, tackling, high-level coverage. I haven't even really shown you the interceptions. I think that goes without saying. You can look that up yourself, right? Like, just look up, Jaylinn Hawkins interceptions, Jaylinn Hawkins highlights. He's a really good football player. I like the signing. In my opinion, he's an instant starter, gives us a ton of options with Kyle Hamilton and Malachi Starks to be on the field. Quick feet, quick reactions, knows his task, or his responsibility, I should say, on every single play. I think from a coaching standpoint, his reactions are predictable, and I'm presenting that as a good thing. On the back end of the defense, the third level, he can be a quarterback of the defense as a free safety, which allows Starks and Hamilton to be moved closer if you want to. I think to compare him to those two guys, he's at this point in time a better tackler than Malachi Starks, in my opinion. Those guys, I think, are going to work together a ton. Hamilton will be moved around. Very adaptable as a split field free safety. You saw a couple of examples of it that I just showed you. Man on likely into the boundary, the two read or palms play. This is another example, I think, that there are really good football players all over this league, and they can be utilized for our team. But also respected by us as fans. The unfortunate thing is we don't do so until they come to our team, right? If he didn't get signed with the Ravens, I probably wouldn't be doing this video, wouldn't have spent a couple of hours watching film of him and then cutting it up to try to present. Now I have some awareness of what he does on a consistent basis. Jaylinn Hawkins is a very good safety. He's starter caliber for this team immediately. He fits in, I think, extremely well to the mentor system, which can be way more multiple now. because you've got 3 experienced guys, and they're all known entities. Mentor goes into the offseason. Well, actually, we go into the draft with a very clear sense of what you've already got in the secondary, and it's a good group. I mean, bringing back Awuzie, Wiggins, Humphrey. There's your 3-corner system. Humphrey probably move around some, right? Hamilton, Starks, Hawkins. We have the ability to play dime just with those 6 guys if we want to. We haven't even gone into the draft yet. There's good depth at corner and safety, and not even mentioning TJ Tampa and a couple of the other young guys that got injured last year. I like the group. I like what Hawkins brings to Baltimore. I think he raises the floor and the ceiling, and I didn't even present in this video his ability to make plays on the ball. You guys feel free to let me know what you think of this signing in the comments section, as well as the plays that I chose to try to illustrate Jaylinn Hawkins' skills.